I call upon Mrs. Latika Kalia to introduce Dr. Atulya Misra IAS.
Dr. Atulya Misra IAS has had a very prolific career in the administrative services, having served at almost every coveted position in the government, administration from Director of State-owned corporations like the Tamil Nadu Tourism Development Corporation Ltd, to the Chairman of Government Corporation and Public-Private Joint Ventures like the Titan Industries, the prestigious Tidel Park Ltd, TNPL Ltd, to the Managing Director of Tamil Nadu Industrial Development Corporation Ltd. I am naming just a few. The list is very long. From Sub-Collector in the Kanyakumari district to the Collector Villipuram to Chairman Chennai Port Trust, Secretary Transport Department, Principal Secretary Industries Department, Chennai, to his current engagement as Additional Chief Secretary, Chairman and Managing Director, Power Finance and Infrastructure Developmental Corporation Limited. Shri Atulya Misra ji comes across as an erudite intellectual, having authored 2 best-selling books on his passion, Environment and Sustainable Cities. The first on was called Oxygen Manifesto, a battle for the environment. And the second one was Vultures of Paradise, an eco-fiction novel. He has used very lucid and engaging storylines to drive home serious messages on environment and waste management. A patient listener, a true seeker, down-to-earth, humble personality, has been very understanding and a guiding light for us through the arranging of this event. I request Dr. Misra to kindly say a few words about his perspective on the Golden Age and about his experience of meeting Hitesh ji. Thank you very much.
Most respected Shri Poonlingam sir, my senior colleague from the Indian Administrative Service, and I will also again use the same word, a kind of a mentor for all of us. Dr. M. Rajaram, again colleague of ours. Of course, he is known for so many things, but one thing I must tell, you go to any bookshop in the country, you will find an English translation of Thirukkural written by Dr. Rajaram. And he has written it so well, so very well, that as the sage Thirukkural is remain immortal, I think this book will also remain there in our minds for many, many years to come. Of course, there are so many facets to a personality. Poonlingam sir was quite senior, and when we joined the service, I had one chance to serve under him. I was the Joint Commissioner of Prohibition and Excise, and sir was the Home Secretary. One thing about him was that if you want to meet him before 11, it was a complete no-no. He had a style that till 11 it is my time. And after 11, the entire day was for you. So he would come to the office much earlier than anybody else, finish his work, make his phone calls. Those were not the days of cell phones. Make his calls, initiate the tempo for the working department. And after 11, he had all the time for you. He'd be always smiling. There'll be no file on his table. You want to spend time with him, take his guidance. You had all the time for that. I saw him in many posts, and then when Sir was Secretary to Government in Government of India, and prior to that in Cabinet Secretariat. We'd go and call on. He was very patient, had all the time. I know these days it is so difficult to spend time with senior officials, but that was one quality I thought which must be mentioned in such an illustrious career. Even today he's so busy. He's heading the task force on COVID. Prior to that he was looking after the police commission. He had been engaging, and he has also, of course, written ultimately whatever time management practices he had. He has written a book on that, on time management, and then another book on management of change. And both are very, very good books, actually coming from a practitioner. Mr. Hitesh Chindel had first, my first interaction was that he invited me to participate in a web seminar. After the COVID, a lot of web seminars are being conducted. Because the topic was very interesting, it was sustainable development, mainly with regards to urban development. I said yes. I was not knowing that it was such a illustrious, such a luminous task, because in that web seminar, the experts from various fields were there. And I felt that it was a great honor which was bestowed on me to participate in that. And then Hiteshji visited my office. We were able to interact with him. He has a vision. He has the passion. And in addition to this, he has that will to sacrifice. When you take up a out-of-box thought on bringing in an element of our age-old practices into something like sustainable development, into something like a good world, it becomes very difficult. And then when he wrote his book, the way it has been put up, it looks like a manual. A wrong word to be used, but it really looks like a toolkit. So you have diagrams, you have figures, you have sketches. It really takes you from a thought to something which can be practiced. I must congratulate you, and for this huge responsibility which you are shouldering. The very fact that you are initiating a concept where we used to call ourselves public servants. You are taking us beyond it, beyond service, to be really a guide, a mentor. Again, those words are slightly smaller for this. He now wants to say that the world leaders have to be the avatars, which is a huge, huge responsibility on a leader. And of course, we have Praveen. I was very surprised when I was seeing his biodata. He was a school topper, he was a college topper. And why he's not one of us? Why didn't he come into civil service, and why did he choose to go into business? But I think education, if you do well in the beginning of your career, and if you are like, the best of the best, you take it in business. You take it to any field you go. So he has done so very well in social service. And then, of course, we have Mr. Jain here, a philanthropist, and all my friends. Vikram is around. And we have colleagues from the service, colleagues who have done extremely well, who have come here to hear the presentation of Mr. Chandel. Now coming to, I was just wondering in this forum, what can I talk about? It is so difficult, it is so broad, you are actually taking us into a different paradigm. So I was just remembering, I was just trying to figure out why countries progress, why and when they progress, and why we are not progressing, why we have not been able to reach that level. But historically, if you see the history of economics, there is a time when everything starts looking good. It happened with Japan, it happened in Singapore, it happened in Dubai. 10 years back, they were nothing. And suddenly in 10 years, they have just emerged. And why and how this time comes? When does this quantum leap comes into an economy? There are a lot of people, you must have heard, of course, the great fictions written by Jared Diamond, the book titled Guns, Germs and Steel, which People must have seen the documentary also. Then, of course, one of the scholars of our times, Yuval Noah Harari, who has written the 3 books. I'm not going into those details, but they're all trying to figure out when a community, a nation, a state really takes off. And certain factors which are very apparent. First factor is demographic dividend. I think we have already arrived in India of demographic dividend. Most of the population is between 18 and 35. We are lesser children behind us. We are lesser older people also. 18 to 35 is our engine. And this particular part is available in India. It has happened before us in Japan. It has happened before us in China. It has happened before us in Europe. Now we have the time when we have to excel. The second part, which is also emerging from these literature, is when women join the workforce. Normally, women tend to take a back seat. They are a part of the workforce from the very beginning, but then they become a part of the formal workforce. And that also is happening in India. When we talk about daughters or our sisters, we take them as working people. We don't take them as housewife, although it's not a wrong word, housewife contributes. But still, they are now a part of direct workforce. This is the second thing which has happened in India. It is happening in all classes. It is also happening in rural areas. Children, we have more and more facilities available for women. They can go to a city, live alone, live in a hostel, work along with men in all fields, and now in the army also. The third thing which happens is, we discovered the third shift. What here actually the third shift means is, we figure out that efficiency is the key. An aircraft should not be stopped. The entire overhauling should be taking place in maybe half a day, in 30 minutes or 40 minutes. It should keep running. The machines should keep rolling. Human beings some time. Coming back to Hiren, what he is trying to bring in is, one is economic growth. India certainly will be economically growing. The second thing is ecology, environment. When we grow, we have to mix it with environment. We have to take environment along, because environment should not become limiting to ecology should not become limiting to economics. And the third thing which he is bringing is ethics. You have environment, you have economy, and you also have to have ethics. So these 3 things, when they will go together, a nation will certainly not only develop, but it will develop as a full rug. It will not develop only at the highest level. It will not develop only at the middle level. It will develop as such. Human beings of the nations will be benefited if we are able to take these 3 parameters: ecology, economy, and ethics. This is what I wanted to say. A lot has to be told in the presentations, and my senior colleague is here. I think I will now close this initial talk of mine. Nandri, vanakkam.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and appreciation and encouragement. You have put the room in extra energy and zeal into our team.